Alright fellas, here right back in Pokemon Masters, and today we're going to be going over a little bit of an issue that the game is having, because of course. Anyway, I'm kidding. Okay, of course, whatever. Make a joke. So, on March 11th, yesterday, we got ourselves the part 2 of the Solve the Case costume event. Obviously, this costume event rerun, we had part 1, so obviously part 2 is going to follow suit. We got the Super Spotlight Costume Scout, getting, you know, the 4 Mystery Game character reruns, all that stuff, normal stuff, whatever. One of the interesting things is that if we go to the gem count here, you'll see that if you look at part 1 for Solve the Case, it has 1,300 gems available, which is normal. You got the gems for beating the stages, including the battle challenges. You have the stages for beating the missions, like the battle challenge missions, the stage clear missions, and all of that, right? Well, if you go to part 2, it's got 2,100 gems, which is a pretty big increase, obviously. This is because instead of having 200 gems be available, like on part 1, for completing 10 missions, we now have 1,000 gems available for beating all missions, which is a pretty big jump. That's 800 gems of the total increase, and that means that this event alone is 2/3 of a multi, which is really good for what normal event standards are, right? Talking about just this, I'll do in a little bit, but I also want to say, this is bugged. This event is bugged. As you know, as normal, in order to beat these missions here that say complete any of the designated area a certain amount of times, right? It's 1 to 50 times. You'll be able to you'll be able to get gems, right? The stages count from part 1 all the way up to part 4, and it also includes the extreme battle. So beating any of those stages, however many times, will give you more rewards. Well, this event is bugged because now only part 1 is giving you the mission rewards. Meaning if you spend all of your stamina on the extreme battle, on part 4, whatever, you will not get any of the mission rewards unless you were to go into part 1 and do them. Part 1, for some reason, which is the 10 stamina stage, is the only stage that will actually count for the missions. This means that if you want the gems, you're going to have to go to just part 1 and do that stage in order to get everything, in order to get all the gems, which of course means you'll have lower vouchers, which means that obviously you can't exchange for everything super quickly. Best idea for doing this is that just spend all your stamina, besides the extreme battle, right? Do the daily extreme battle, those are obviously, you know, worth it. Spend all of your stamina on part 1 until you have all 50 missions completed, and then go and do the normal part 4 stage where you can get the most vouchers, right? Because we still do have about 2 days until Adamant and Air to drop in their special costume event, so you still have a good bit of time there to farm up at least the missions and a good bit of the exchange shop as well. So, yeah, that's the pretty big talking point here, is that they, for 1, increase the amount of gems available in this event, and for 2, it's bugged. For 2, it's bugged. Pokemon Masters has acknowledged the issue. The English account hasn't said anything officially about it yet, but the JP account has made a statement here saying that we've confirmed the issue where the clear count for hard or higher quest is not completed correctly in mission 1 to 6 of the special costume event Chase the Mystery of the Incident Part 2. We are currently investigating. Sorry for inconvenience. What's likely is we'll probably get a couple, like probably 300 Apollo gems and maybe like 200 or 400 stamina or something in our box, because they know, hey, people would have completed this, they would have wasted their stamina before they realized that it was bugged, so recompensate some stamina, right? I feel that that's probably likely, that we'll get like 300, 400, 500 stamina or something in our present box, as well as 300 gems as an apology, something like that, which, I mean, that's fair, right? It's a good enough reward. But yeah, that's the main thing I want to talk about, was that it's bugged. So if you want to complete the missions here, get all missions completed for your 1,000 gems, do just part 1, clear all your clear part 1 50 times, and then once you know it's done, for clear 50 times and you've got all the gems from the missions and whatnot, go to part 4, or the highest stage that gives you vouchers, and farm from that in order to get all the exchange shop rewards, like normal, right? That makes the most sense. But also I want to talk about this 1,000 gem reward. Previously, in order to get these rewards, in order to get the 200 gem reward here, you would only have to beat 10 missions, or however many missions, minus 2 of them. So there are 12 total missions for most story events. There's 6 missions for beating the events a certain amount of times. There's the missions for beating the extreme battles, or the ultimate battle, the battle challenges, and also beating the missions for the battle challenges. So the way that you would generally want to do it was that if you were a minimalist player, you would clear the stage, the 50 times, and then you would do the battle challenge, and you probably wouldn't worry about the battle challenge missions. Obviously, people who have like the box and the capabilities to beat the event and to beat the missions would do everything, right? That makes the most sense. But the big point on this change is that this now requires you to beat all missions, not just 10 of them. It requires you to beat all of them, which that could be a good thing, but it could be a bad thing. I think it's a good thing because obviously I've got the box to pretty much beat any battle challenge that I need to without much issue, but obviously that's not going to be the case for like every player in the game, especially newer ones, right? So like, let's say that, for example, you're a new player. You want to beat the battle challenge round 2 here. I don't have it pulled up, but in order to beat the missions here, you need a Hoenn and Johto character, and you need a Ground and Dark character. If you are a new player, then your boxes in those areas are probably going to be lacking. And these battle challenges may have difficult aspects to them. That means that if a player can't beat those missions, they're screwed out of those 1,000 gems. Whereas prior, they wouldn't have to worry about the battle challenge outside of just beating it once without having to worry about the missions. They would just have to beat it once, and then they would be able to do everything else and get the 200 gems for completing 10 missions. Now, again, that's not the case anymore. You do have to beat the battle challenge missions, which makes that, those free-to-play guides and whatnot for beating those a lot more valuable. So there should be some free-to-play guides up from a while ago on the Solve the Case Part 2 event, if you do want to go look those up, because now beating the Part 2 missions is more important than ever, because you are literally missing out on over 3 singles, 1,000 gems, a third of a multi, if you just don't do it, right? Which is not a good thing to do. You don't want to miss out on this free multi, for sure. So yeah, that's the big thing that I wanted to talk about, other than it being bugged, was that now instead of having to do a few missions, and I say a few, but having to do the easier missions and get 200 gems for doing it, you are now inclined to do all of the missions, no matter the difficulty, in order to get 1,000, which I personally like the change, because obviously, again, I'm an older player. I've got the box to pretty much clear anything with little issue. But again, for newer players, it could be a bit more of a struggle, which is kind of what I want to think about. I do think the change is good in general. I guess I'm worried about the free-to-play player base a little bit more. In this event, I don't think it's too big of a deal, because this is definitely one of the battle challenges where it's not like uber difficult, right? You don't have to worry too much about their gimmicks. They do hit a little bit hard, but you can mostly counter it with free-to-play setups. I looked back at my old free-to-play setup, and I brought Nita, BP Morty, and Sydney, which was just far easier to do. But obviously, again, not everyone has the luxury of having like Sydney, right? Or not everyone has like maybe the Master Royale, who would also be good for this. But just again, that could just be me worrying about the new players a little bit too much. But I mean, I do think that this is still a good update. If they do this from now going forward, obviously that will incline probably me to put out a few more of the free-to-play showcases against these battle challenges. I just never have done those because other people already do them. That's kind of their specialty. It's not really my specialty to do like free-to-play / semi-free-to-play battle challenge setups. So hey, if you want to go watch those, I'll try and link some channels or that I can think of down in the comments that generally help out with free-to-play stuff. So I guess look in the description for those if I can remember. But yeah, that's mostly what I wanted to talk about here, was that we did have an increase in overall gems available from the Solve the Case Part 2 event, from the normal Solve the Case Part 1 event, as well as other reruns, because if we look at the Leaders of a New Era, it's also only 1,300 gems. Part 1 is only 1,300 gems, now Part 2, 2,100. This could just be a bug, or a error rather, and say that like somebody accidentally put in 1,000 gems as a gift reward instead of, or as a mission reward instead of 200, right? That could be the case. It could not be the case. Solve the case. But I do think that either way, if this is a persistent change, it's good, but I wouldn't expect it to stick around. I could definitely see them just changing it and reverting it back to normal, because they did also do that for the New Year's rerun event, where they gave us scout tickets instead of gems. People didn't like it. They never brought it back since, and let's hope that they never bring it back again, because that was a horrible change. But yeah, either way, if they bring this back, that's awesome for the 1,000 gems. If they don't bring it back, then I mean, that's pretty normal. As long as they go back to the normal method of only having to beat 10 missions for 200 gems, I think it's, I guess, whatever. But of course, getting more gems would be nice, right? Getting more gems would be nice. So On the bonus side, we do now have more gems available for our events. On the, I guess, downside, you now have to actually beat the battle challenge missions, which could be a bit of a struggle in its own right. But of course, that could be worthy. That could be a good sacrifice for older players / intermediate players. Could be a bad thing for newer players, right? Which, I don't know. You'll have to pick your poison on that one. But yeah, that's mostly it, I would say. Just be on the lookout. Again, be careful of beating them, trying to beat the stages here for the Solve the Case Part 2 event. Be sure to do Part 1 or Stage 1, the 10 stamina event, or 10 stamina stage, where you can actually complete the missions instead of doing the newer stages, the more difficult stages rather, where they will not count, right? I would recommend getting all of this stuff done before they fix it, just in case, like, maybe they take out the reward. I don't see that happening. I don't see them taking out the 1,000 gem reward, but just, to be safe, just go ahead. It takes like 1 day's worth of stamina if you're consistent. You get like 200 stamina naturally, plus 200 stamina, I think you get like 200 stamina over the course of probably 12 hours, something like that. And then you get another 200 from logging in for a new day, and then you get probably another 100 from just, again, stamina regeneration. You should be able to get 500 stamina to clear all 50 missions here within a day very easily. It shouldn't be too big of a struggle. So, yeah. That's overall what I wanted to talk about. I hope y'all enjoyed. Let me know what you think about the change for these events. Let's, if you do like this event, send it in feedback. If you like, obviously, it being bugged is not a good thing, but if you like that they have this 1,000 gem reward for beating all missions, then probably leave that in feedback, say it was a good change, and, maybe they'll listen and persist in keeping it, but also, maybe they'll just change it anyway. Who knows? So, yeah, I'll see y'all later. Hope y'all enjoyed. Good luck beating your event and be careful of the bugs, and, yeah, I'll see you all later.